When you look at inflation, when we look at where we are economically, and we are in a strong, we are stronger economically than we have been in history.
We're working on bringing down basically the cost of what life requires for people.
Court now, practically dares the women of America to go to the ballot box and restore the very rights they've just taken away. One of the most extraordinary parts of the decision, in my view, is the majority writes, and I quote, women, it's a quote now from the majority, women are not without electoral or political power.
Well, just to confuse you on this Saturday morning, there's Joe Biden talking again, unfortunately. Folks, you know, like I said, we always wish that our president does a good job. He's just not doing a good job.
I was more focused, too, on the press secretary saying this is the best we've done economically in history.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you look back in history, that might not be true.
And the other thing I love is the selective statistics. So, like, we've added 7 million jobs. It's like, no, largely Democratic state governments shut down the economy during COVID, costing what amounts to probably 10 to 11 million jobs, and 7 or 8 million came back. It's like, who makes these decisions?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of factors in there. Not only to mention the jobs, but inflation, gas prices, mortgage rates, the housing market, stock markets.
It's the communication strategy of the White House. That's what they're not communicating properly. Well, good morning, folks. We're going to communicate all this to you over this weekend's Wake Up America weekend show. I'm Carl Higbee.
And I'm Mina Brohanty, and it's Saturday, July 9th.
Yeah. How was your 4th, by the way?
It was good. I was in Nashville, and I was just talking to you about it. You know, as much as you see on TV that there were huge crowds, and there were out there watching the fireworks, which was incredibly impressive. It was so worth it, but not as busy as I was expecting.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. Although, folks, we do have some breaking news. Amanda identified somebody wearing ostrich boots while she was there.
I did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anybody who watches the show knows that Carl always has his boots on. He wears these ostrich boots, and I saw somebody else with them, and I was like, I know those boots.
Yeah, very impressive.
Thank you. Carl, here's what else we're following for you this morning.
All right, so an expensive breakup making headlines this morning. Elon Musk purportedly bowing out of his Twitter deal, setting himself up for what could be a messy split. There's a $1 billion breakup clause for him there, but Twitter will most likely sue Musk over this. But he does have this exit clause. But he's also said he's been very upset about the way they've been selectively giving him data, especially pertaining to bots. And he also has noted that the company he thinks is valued at 7 times what it should be.
I'm both surprised and not at Musk's decision here, but I also think he could have changed the way Twitter was when it came to bots.
I don't think this is over.
No, definitely not. Also, crime, violence, guns, mass shootings, all on the minds of Americans. Nearly a week after the July 4th deadly ambush in suburban Chicago, the number of attacks reaching record highs in the U.S. 5 other mass shootings happened on that holiday.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. We can't forget about the economy, though. This Saturday morning, gas prices starting to ease slightly, but still almost double what they were when Biden took office. Fears of a recession still loom, even with a healthy June jobs report on the economy, tacking on another 372,000 jobs last month. I'd like to note that the government doesn't create any jobs. They just get out of the way long enough for the private sector to.
Well, and when you look at the statistics of what jobs are coming back, it's a lot of the jobs that we saw disappear due to the pandemic when it comes to service jobs, restaurants, hotels, those kinds of employment.
100%. But first, for the latest on the following, the gun violence across the United States, as we learn more about the Highland Park Parade shooter, Democratic states are taking an opportunity to apply some moral jurisdiction to their power.
And we're going to welcome in former sheriff and Newsmax contributor Sherriff David Clarke. Sheriff, good morning and welcome back.
Thank you.
Sheriff, according to authorities, the gunman was driving around and he saw a celebration in Madison and he contemplated another attack after that first shooting. Part of the discussion we've been having so much when it comes to red flags and mass shootings is mental health and that factor. But when the only thing that deterred him seemed to be not enough planning, how much of a role does mental health play in this?
I think it's overplayed, to tell you the truth, because 99.9% of people suffering from mental illness in this country would never do and behave this way, wouldn't grab a firearm and go and shoot up a crowd, shoot up, a theater, a parade, so on and so forth. So we're talking about, 0.1%. And I just think that that's the low-hanging fruit. I'm not saying it plays no role, but I think that's the low-hanging fruit, because there were warning signs once again, and there are always, and this is a pattern now, there are always warning signs out there that people either aren't looking for or people ignore.
Yeah, well, let's talk about those warning signs, Sheriff. So, as a former ranking law enforcement member, nearly every shooter, everybody comes back after the fact, be like, yo, this guy was really messed up in the head. Like he said a lot of crazy stuff.
Social media posts are a big one that we often see.
Exactly. And look, Illinois, you have red flag laws there. You have stringent restrictions on the very weapons that he bought and used in this. His father gave him the recommendation to it. Why didn't they do anything in the heat of the moment on this?
Well, the big question is, what are they supposed to do? Because sometimes law enforcement has been notified. They come, they check it out. You know, their hands are tied as to what they can do in these circumstances. And so, you know what? They check it out. They check a few boxes, and then they return the person back into circulation. I'm not saying that the police are not at fault at all, but you know what I want to know, Carl, is where's the FBI? They're too busy chasing around moms who are labeled as domestic terrorists. Because they want to attend school board meetings to protect their children. They're too busy chasing around the Proud Boys and other organizations like that, instead of focusing on what they should be. They're the ones that should be monitoring that stuff. Look, they're spying on Americans, law-abiding Americans for other things. Why aren't they engaged, fully engaged, in this activity?
Right.
You know, and speaking on being fully engaged in that kind of activity, Sheriff, and spying and looking at other Americans, one of the things that we're seeing is when it comes to social media accounts, as we were just discussing, I mean, social media, we know that that's out there, people see it, but how much of a factor do you think looking at social media would be in this, and can it be enforced?
Yeah.
Well, sure it can. The thing to do is, you know, you put the case together, and you take some action and let a court sort it out, for heaven's sakes. I think that doing something rather than nothing, and I don't mean anything illegal, but if you want to arrest the person, if you want to charge them, maybe a judge throws it out and says you don't have probable cause or you don't have anything here. That's fine. Then you can say, then a law enforcement agency can say, we did everything we could, but until they take more assertive action, they really can't say that today.
Yeah, I think these red flag laws are complete garbage anyway. I think they're a mass, constitutional overreach. And I think the fact that, like, look, if you don't have the social media accounts public and stuff like that, it's not the business of the government. But Sheriff David Clarke, we appreciate you being here as always, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, have a good one.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.